I didn't take this ride to get anywhere. I took it because I couldn't sleep. Maybe you're the same. And when the thoughts get too soft to follow, let yourself drift. This train will carry you, even if your eyes close before the story ends. Night settles over the carriage like a quilt of quiet velvet, though the lamp above my seat whispers a muted amber glow. Outside, rain traces thin silver trails across the glass, stitching horizon to horizon with patient, almost tender, threads. The train hums beneath me, a low and steady heartbeat that promises we will not break the night, only glide. We pass a lonely crossing where a single bulb swings in the wind, its reflection wavering like a thought half remembered. I close my eyes for a breath and feel the gentle shiver of tracks threading underneath, sewing past to present in quiet beats. Somewhere 2 rows ahead a traveler cradles a folded map, though the lines have blurred, softened by time and maybe by hope. I wonder where the map once guided him, what laughter it heard, what endings it quietly witnessed from a shirt pocket. The window fogs with each slow exhale, a small cloud drifting until I draw a finger through it, making a clear lane. On the other side, fields lie hushed under mist, their boundaries dissolving so that grass becomes sky and sky becomes dream. I think of morning light somewhere far behind us, gently pouring into kitchens we left hours ago, touching cups left half full. Time stretches on rails, elastic yet certain, always pulling, never snapping, weaving our fleeting moments into its unbroken ribbon. I remember sitting by a river once, counting ripples as though numbers could anchor me, until I learned even numbers wander. The river from that afternoon feels close tonight, hiding beneath the darkness outside, mirroring the train's glow in restless fragments. A soft snore drifts from the seat behind, rising and falling like a small tide, comforting in its ordinary cadence. The sleeper's head leans against the window, droplets collecting at the edge of his reflection, beating along the shape of a dream. I wonder if he travels toward a reunion or away from one, and whether, in sleep, the 2 directions meet somewhere gentle. The wheels sing a lullaby in iron and rainwater, each note softening at the edges, dissolving like sugar in warm tea. My own memories follow these notes, drifting lazily, no longer sharp, content to blur into one another the way distant lights merge. Once, on a different train, a woman offered me a tangerine, the scent bright and alive against that winter night's chill. She peeled it carefully, separating segments as if turning pages, and I remember thinking stories might be hidden under every rind. Tonight I taste that tangerine again, though only in memory, bright against the muted palette of rain and rustling cloth. Stations appear, small islands of sodium light, then drift away before the train slows, like thoughts we acknowledge yet choose not to keep. A solitary conductor steps onto the platform, checks his watch, checks the rain, and fades behind the closing doors with practiced grace. I think about rituals, checking, waiting, departing, and how they tether us to certainty, even when our hearts drift elsewhere. The train breathes a deeper hush as miles unfurl, the hum softening, paragraphs of sound becoming single syllables, then a kind of silence. In that near silence I notice my pulse aligning with the sway, each beat slowing, as though the body knows a bedtime tale is coming. I speak to myself softly, inside, promising that tomorrow will be gentle, that unfinished tasks will wait like letters placed neatly on a desk. The promise feels enough for now, a quilt bigger than worry, sewn with quiet assurances and the faint scent of rain-washed fields. Beyond the glass, trees line the horizon like blurred brushstrokes, bending gently, as if they too understand the art of yielding to wind. I recall advice from an old friend: hold plans lightly the way dusk holds light, ready to release it when the moon asks. Rain strengthens for a moment, drumming a steadier rhythm, but the carriage answers with softer vibrations, like 2 voices agreeing to whisper. Somewhere in that duet I imagine a small cottage by these tracks, a lamp left burning, someone lifting a curtain to watch us pass. Perhaps they wave, not out of greeting but because waving makes distance feel kind, and kindness is easier than wondering who travels inside. I carry that imagined wave like a small ember, letting it warm stray regrets. Letters unsent, goodbyes postponed, promises I reshaped into silence. Yet even regrets soften on nights like this. They lie down beside the steady rails and listen, finally willing to rest without resolution. The carriage lights dim a fraction more, shadows blending until edges blur, and the whole space feels like a shared exhale. My thoughts slow to match that exhale, drifting in wider circles, no longer eager to land, content merely to glide over still water. If dreams are stations, I tell myself, let the train stop everywhere tonight. Let the doors open to fields of rest and quiet welcome. Somewhere beyond the next curve lies my destination, but arrival feels gentle, secondary. What matters is this sheltered movement, this lull between places. So I lean back, let the seat cradle my shoulders, and watch droplets race each other down the pane until vision turns to hush. The hum lowers once more, sentences shrinking to words, words dissolving to breath, and breath settling into the soft grammar of sleep. The window is a quiet stage tonight, trimmed in silver droplets. Every beat of rain catches a fragment of station light, and those shy gleams slip across the glass like moths seeking flame. I sit in the muted glow, palms open on my knees, listening for the hush between hums. The train sways, a cradle fashioned from steel and velocity. Floorboards creak just enough to remind me they are beneath all this motion, as if a distant forest still whispers inside them. Each bend in the track feels like a slow exhale, loosening knots of thought one by one. We pass a siding where freight cars sleep under tarps. The tarp edges flap, bowing politely to our brief appearance. Beyond them, a scarecrow leans in a field, shoulders glossy with rain, keeping watch over nothing but the night. Inside the carriage, reading lamps glow like bedside candles. A college student across from me has stopped turning pages. The textbook now serves only as a pillow for his folded arms. His glasses rest crooked, a misplaced bookmark in the dream he is studying. I trace a fingertip along the frame of my seat. The fabric pattern reminds me of a childhood couch, covered in tiny geometric stars that once felt endless. I used to imagine each star was a possible future. Tonight I'm content knowing some futures glow quietly, unchosen yet still alive in memory. The countryside rolls by in grayscale layers, hedgerow, pasture, distant hill, each softer than the last. Mist drapes the scene like gauze, giving the land permission to blur its edges. A lone barn lantern flickers, steady as a heartbeat no storm can rush. We slow for a small town platform. A clock hangs over empty benches, its second hand nudging forward with patient certainty. I think of all the letters I never mailed, sealed with hope yet kept in a drawer, still postmarked by hesitation. The doors stay closed, no one boards, no one leaves. It feels as though time itself stops to sip the cool air before resuming. Then the engine hum deepens and we glide onward, carrying that pause with us like a quiet souvenir. Rain gathers in crescents along the carriage roof, tapping steady counter rhythms to the wheels. Somewhere 2 cars back, a child murmurs in sleep, a language made only of vowels and wonder. A parent hushes him with a sigh soft enough to fold into the rain. My eyes drift to my reflection, faint, doubled by interior light. In it I see the curve of my shoulders, relaxed in a way they seldom are during daylight tasks. Night grants permission to unbutton posture and let the spine remember it is more river than rod. A memory surfaces. A different train, another late hour when I first tasted coffee that was too hot and too bitter. I drank it anyway, eager to seem older, though I burned my tongue and spoke in cautious whispers the rest of the ride. Tonight I cradle a paper cup of chamomile instead, steam curling like kindly advice. Past a copse of willow trees, the moon appears, half hidden yet intent on escort duty. It bathes the wet leaves in pearl, turning the landscape into a moving postcard from a place I've never visited but somehow know by heart. Even the telephone wires glisten, thin strands of music stretched from house to sleeping house. Across the aisle, an elderly man writes in a small ledger. His pen moves slowly, pausing often, as if each word must ask for permission to exist. I imagine he is tallying memories, debts paid in smiles, credits earned in patience. The conductor walks through with a soft nod, shoes whispering on carpet. His uniform smells faintly of cedar and something sweet, maybe the last crumb of a cookie saved for later. He caps his lantern, leaving just enough glow to braid into dreams. We enter a tunnel. Darkness enfolds the carriage like a wool blanket. The sudden absence of landscape invites inward travel. I count my breaths. One for gratitude, one for letting go, one for whatever comes next. Emerging, we find the rain gentler, almost shy. Droplets stagger instead of race, as if they too grow drowsy with the hour. Fields open wide again, black velvet dotted with pale wildflowers that only night creatures notice. A woman 2 rows ahead hums a lullaby into her scarf. No lyrics reach me, only the rounded corners of melody, soft as cloud edges. Her tune threads through the carriage, stitching our solitary thoughts into a shared quilt. I rest my head against the cool pane. Glass meets skin with a small shock, then settles into a truce of temperature. Heartbeat, wheel beat, raindrop, 3 gentle drummers keeping perfect, unhurried time. Somewhere beyond the trees, a river mirrors our path. I picture it sliding past stones, gathering secrets from roots, carrying them to a distant sea. Water understands both movement and surrender, and tonight I learn a little from its silent sermon. The student rouses, lifts his head, smiles a hazy apology for dreaming in public, then returns to sleep without opening his eyes. I envy that ease, the casual trust in forward motion. Yet I realize I am already halfway there, eyelids heavier than the suitcase tucked above my seat. Another deserted halt appears, bathed in amber floodlight. A vending machine blinks, advertising warmth no traveler claims. The doors remain closed. Our brief presence feels like a courteous nod to the ghosts of commuters past. The rain slows to a hush, then to a sprinkle. Droplets stretch farther apart, leaving room for silence to nest between them. Even the engine softens, mindful of fragile dreams. My thoughts loosen, drift, fold like letters never sent. Perhaps they will find their own destinations in sleep, slipped under doorways of the mind before dawn's delivery. And if some remain unread, that too is gentle. Not every sentence needs an answer. We curve once more, the last wide bend before the city lights. In the distance, a glow waits, patient and still, like the punctuation mark at the end of a comforting story. I inhale the promise, exhale the day. When the wheels finally hush, I will gather my coat, but not my hurry. I will step onto the next platform carrying nothing heavier than calm. Until then, I sit in this moving room of rain-polished windows and unfinished letters, and let the night complete its lullaby. The carriage is half-lit, a lantern draped in modern cloth. Rain keeps time on the roof, a patient metronome clicking softer than thought. Outside, hedgerows slide past like slow brushstrokes on dark canvas. We cross a meadow wide enough to swallow echoes. I glimpse a lone fence post bowing beneath ivy, the weight of gentle persistence. Mist curls around it, as though the night is rehearsing a secret dance no daylight is invited to watch. A boy across the aisle hugs a denim jacket for warmth. The embroidered patch on the sleeve reads Voyagers Club, letters fraying into fuzz. He stares at his reflection, testing the grin he will use when school begins again, then lets the mirror go blank. The wheels hum in minor key, gradually rounding each note into lullaby. I feel the vibration in my ankles, a reminder that even in stillness we move. Somewhere below, steel kisses steel, sparks we will never see confetti the dark. We drift past a signal light glowing green, then amber, then a restful red for a line we do not take. I imagine that sleeping track, lonely yet proud of its patience. Every path, even unused, carries the memory of motion. My own reflection hovers on the glass, transparent and double exposed with field and sky. The overlay makes me appear stitched to the landscape, a traveler sewn into horizon. I think of choices that tether us. Jobs accepted, phone calls ignored, embraces delayed. All tiny nails holding our personal rail in place. We break for a rural halt named Stonebridge, though I see no bridge in Little Stone. The station clock reads 1:03 a.m., hands slow as drifting seed. No passengers wait, only a poster curls at its corners, advertising a summer festival now long past. In the quiet, I remember mailing a birthday card years late. I wrote, belated but sincere. The friend replied, the timing was perfect. I needed it that day. Perhaps lateness is just arrival rehearsed. The doors stay closed, yet the brief stop feels generous, a pause gifted to breathing. Rain lightens, tapping less insistently, like fingertips brushing piano keys in farewell. Then the engine sighs forward, resuming its gentle sermon on momentum. Behind me, two sisters whisper beneath a shared blanket. Their voices rustle like turning pages. I catch only fragments. Fireflies, grandma's porch, someday soon. One yawns mid-sentence, words stretching into quiet elastic before snapping back to silence. Clouds part for a shy crescent moon. She peers through a lattice of branches, silvering puddles into scattered coins no one bothers to collect. Even the river we parallel seems content to glide coinless, wealthy in reflection. I sip water from a waxed cup, tasting the cool neutrality of night. The flavor is absence, yet oddly comforting, like blank paper between written lines. Hydration for the mind as much as the body. We cross an iron trestle. The sound deepens, echoing up through the floor. It reminds me of an old recording of my grandfather's voice, tinny yet enduring, the clarity hiding inside the distortion. He once said, you can't steer a stationary boat. Keep drifting until you find the current. The words resurface now, rippling through the timbers. A conductor eases through, shoes soft as moth wings. He nods to each sleeper as if confirming their tickets to dream. When he reaches me, he tips an invisible hat. Ceremony persists even when nobody's awake enough to notice. We pass grazing sheep, white commas in the twilight field. Their calm exists outside the ledger of human clocks. I wonder if they feel the passing train as a distant thunder or only as a story the grass tells later. The boy with the jacket finally dozes, head leaning toward window. His breath fogs a small oval on the glass, a private portal. In that blur, the countryside becomes abstract, easier on tired eyes. My shoulders release another notch of tension. I count exhalations, 1, 2, 3, each slower than the last. Breath anchors thought, a soft stone dropped into deep water. Memory drifts to an unfinished song I once tried to write. Only the chorus survived. Meet me where the tracks divide, where morning can't decide. I hum it now under my breath, letting the words dissolve before they reach the air. Some creations are meant for internal radio only. An elderly woman 3 rows ahead adjusts a silk sleep mask. Its pattern shows little clocks without hands. Her lips curve upward, perhaps dreaming of a place where time is decorative, never demanding. Another small station, Elmhurst Crossing, glimmers into view. A stray dog trots along the platform, fur soaked but tail steady. He pauses, looks toward our windows as though checking for a familiar face, then pads back into the dark. The doors never open. Still, the moment feels like greeting. We accelerate gently, rain thinning to mere mist. Droplets become sparse candles flickering out one by one. Somewhere, dawn is rehearsing its entrance, but curtains remain drawn. My eyelids weigh more with each syllable of wheel on rail. Inside that heaviness lives comfort, like books stacked neatly after reading. Muscles accept the invitation to loosen, bones settle into velvet angles. I picture tomorrow's sky smeared with soft peach and dove gray. Tasks will wait in neat lines, waving small flags for attention. I decide to greet them unhurried, carrying tonight's hush in my pocket like a seashell hum. The sisters fall silent. Their blanket rises and falls in unison. Shared breathing merges, becoming one slow tide. The boy's patched sleeve slips from his grasp, dangling. Dreams need no membership card. The conductor dims the aisle lights another fraction. Glow retreats to corners, making space for shadow-soothed thoughts. Even verbs feel sleepy now, preferring present tense to future. We round the last broad curve before the long glide toward city edge. Fields flatten, trees thin, but the pace remains unhurried, as though night wishes to savor its last refrain. I match my heartbeat to the rhythm, softer, slower, sure. Thoughts blur into gentle watercolor. Fence posts, wool coats, handless clocks, trestle echoes. Each image drifts, untethered, finding its quiet shelf in the mind's library. No urgency to file them. The catalog can wait until daylight. Rain stops. Silence takes the vacant seat, polite, unassuming, welcome. The wheels whisper alone now, a single rower on a glassy lake. Beyond the window, darkness accepts its own reflection, vast yet kind. If dreams are trains, tonight I ride the local, stopping at every small mercy, never missing a station where hopes might board. Somewhere ahead, a terminal lamp glows, pale and patient. But here, in this pocket of moving hush, I hold the journey lightly, cradle it like warm tea, and breathe until thoughts disperse into quiet steam. The lights overhead dim to a muted honey, soft enough to miss if you blink too slowly. Rain keeps a gentle pulse on the glass, each drop arriving like a quiet knock from some considerate night traveler. We slide through velvet countryside, wheels brushing the rails in rhythms steadier than thought. Outside, the fields stretch open, wide patches of umber and ash beneath the mist. Occasional lanterns glow beside distant barns, small constellations arranged by farmers instead of stars. They flicker at odd intervals, and I imagine each light as a bedside lamp for someone drifting towards sleep. In the carriage, silence feels communal, a silent pact among strangers to guard one another's dreams. A woman 2 seats ahead knits by feel alone, yarn rolling at her feet like a tame cloud. She pauses sometimes, eyes closed, listening as if the needles are speaking secrets into her palms. My own reflection meets me in the window, blurred by rain and night, a watercolor version of myself. The merging of face and landscape makes identity feel porous, like ink bleeding into wet paper. I watch a farmhouse disappear behind a line of poplars and wonder if the inhabitants know their lives just passed through someone else's thought. The locomotive hum deepens on a gradual curve, the vibration curling around ribs and spine. It reminds me of standing beside an old refrigerator in childhood kitchens, the steady drone that could drown worry if you leaned close enough. Perhaps every sound with patience becomes a lullaby. We enter a brief cutting where the track is flanked by dark stone walls. Rain hits the rocks in airy whispers as though rehearsing a polite applause. When the walls fall away, a marshland unfolds, moonlight trapped in shallow pools like forgotten coins. A young man in a charcoal suit cradles a violin case, fingers drumming faint tempos on the latch. His eyes are closed, yet his brows move, keeping time with an inward concerto no one else can hear. I imagine the melody, something slow, deliberate, notes falling like the rain around us. The train coasts through a tiny flag stop. No platform, only a weathered sign tilted at an angle of perpetual shrug. We don't slow. Still, the sign receives our passing presence as politely as a bow. I picture letters arriving there that never find recipients, dreams addressed to nowhere in particular. Steam rises from my paper cup of lemon tea, curling into fragile shapes before vanishing. Every sip tastes of warmth and quiet citrus, the sort of flavor that asks nothing but attention. I savor it like borrowed time. Somewhere behind me, a seat creaks and settles, followed by a sigh so content it could belong to dusk itself. I don't turn. Some moments breathe better without witness. The sigh drifts forward, mingling with the train's murmur, and dissolves. Mist thickens outside, spread over the earth like muslin thrown over an unfinished painting. Telephone poles march beside us, their wires drooping with pearls of water that flash briefly in the carriage lights. With each post, I time my breathing, letting the intervals nudge my thoughts slower. Memory arrives unannounced. A seaside boardwalk at night, salt wind tangling hair, carousel music leaking through summer air. I recall pressing a seashell to my ear, believing the ocean lived inside. Tonight, I press rain-smeared glass to my temple and hear a different tide, steel, steam, soft thunder. We pass a cattle gate half open, swinging in lazy arcs. It clacks against its frame now and then, a wooden metronome syncing with rail joints. I wonder if gates dream of being bridges, or if they are content to mark simple boundaries. The knitter stops, lifts her work up to check the pattern, smiles at something only she sees, then resumes. Loops of wool gather on her needles like soft promises of warmth yet to come. She hums a tune so light it could float between raindrops. A cluster of lights appears, a village dozing beneath slate roofs. Street lamps bloom amber on wet cobblestones, forming a path no one currently walks. For a heartbeat, our carriage windows reflect those lamps, turning us into a moving neighborhood of borrowed glow. The violinist opens his eyes, meets mine with a nod, half question, half greeting, then looks away as if to preserve the hush. I craft a story for him, leaving a small concert where applause lingered too long in vaulted rafters, carrying the echoes home for safekeeping. He closes his eyes again, approving the tale without words. We slow, not for a station but for a stretch of crooked track. The gentle deceleration feels like an invitation to loosen the grip on consciousness. Rain softens further, each droplet landing with a hush, as though the clouds are running out of things to say. An elderly couple sleep shoulder to shoulder near the carriage door, heads tilting together like parentheses enclosing a lifetime. Their hands remain entwined, even in dreams, fingers mapping familiar lines. I see a faint smile on the man's face, a cartographer pleased with well-charted territory. The train resumes its steady pace, and I notice the subtle difference between motion and progress. Not every mile carries purpose. Some simply cradle us until dawn feels possible. I let that thought settle, a small pebble finding rest on riverbed. Outside, hedges give way to open moor, a wide sweep of heather washed in grayscale. A solitary radio tower stands sentinel, red light blinking a slow heartbeat into fog. Its signal will travel farther tonight than any of us, crossing hills, lakes, heartache, and hope. My eyelids lower, reopen, lower again, each time heavier, as if gravity were quietly doubling. Sentences shorten inside my mind, turning to single words, then to syllables, then to hush. Even regrets, usually restless, curl up like kittens and sleep. We reach Oakmere Junction, a broader station with lamps arranged in careful rows, yet still no passengers await. The timetable on the wall reads departures long gone, arrivals not yet born. We glide through without stopping, a ghost politely declining to be seen. The knitter gathers her yarn into a small bag, folds her hands, closes her eyes. The violinist's fingers finally still. I lean my head against the seat back, feeling fabric give its warmth. Breath slides in, slides out, softer, calmer, like tide over smooth stones. The carriage, the field, the lanterns outside, all vote unanimously for rest. Movement becomes suggestion, light becomes memory, and rain becomes mere punctuation in a sentence almost ended. I surrender to the cadence, knowing the next station, real or imagined, will find me with eyes closed, heart open, and mind as still as lantern-lit fields sliding by in the quiet dark. The window breathes a soft fog where my forehead once rested. Outside, rain draws faint diagonal lines, neat handwriting across the night. Each droplet lands with a promise to speak quietly and never rush. We ease past a stand of birch trees, their pale trunks shining like moonlit bones of the earth. Branches sway in slow apology for the day's former winds. Beyond them, farmland rests under a quilt of silver mist. Inside the carriage, lights settle into warm pockets of amber. Their glow polishes the air, then folds back, mindful of sleepers. That hush feels like a library after closing, stories present yet content to wait. A businessman down the aisle loosens his tie, velvet fatigue softening his stern jaw. The tablet on his lap dims, its glow surrendering to the rain's lull. He exhales as though removing a second, heavier suit we cannot see. My seat sways with the track's gentle persuasion. Metal wheels hum a tune too old for language, a lullaby first sung by steam. Each note is round, spacious, willing to carry thoughts until they fade. We pass an unmanned siding where rusted freight wagons doze. Their faded numbers remind me of phone digits I once knew by heart. Memory like paint peels when left in the weather of forgetting. A small station glides by, platform lights flickering like tired fireflies. No footfalls echo, yet I imagine a gardener waiting there earlier, pockets full of seeds. Perhaps tomorrow flowers will bloom between the rails, confident in their odd address. I cradle a thermos of cocoa, steam curling around my knuckles. The scent of chocolate and rain mingles, forming a quiet treaty with the night. Each sip lowers a drawbridge inside my chest. Across the aisle, a teenager sketches in a ruled notebook, pen scratching moth-soft. I glimpse a half-finished portrait of a cat wearing aviator goggles. Imagination, I decide, is the train's true cargo, invisible but plentiful. Rain intensifies for a moment, tapping a quicker rhythm that lasts only 2 breaths. Then it relaxes as if embarrassed by its outburst. I match my breathing to the new, slower pulse. In the reflection, ceiling lights float above wet fields like phantom lanterns. My face appears superimposed on distant hills, eyes holding both here and elsewhere. It feels honest. We are always partly in the past, partly in the view ahead. We curve toward a river crossing. Water below mirrors skeletal willows, branches drawn in patient ink. For an instant, the bridge hum deepens, a low chord that settles into bone. A couple seated near the exit share silent conversation through touch. Her fingers trace circles on his wrist, mapping planets no telescope will find. He answers with a gentle squeeze, the simplest, oldest language. The conductor passes, steps muffled by thick carpet. He carries a clipboard and the authority of calm. His nod assures us all tickets to rest remain valid. Mist gathers thicker now, swallowing fences until only their intentions remain. Headlights from the locomotive paint pale tunnels through the haze, each one closing behind us like soft doors. I marvel at how distance rearranges itself so willingly. Another memory drifts in. An evening on a porch swing, watching summer rain thread beads along a clothesline. I was 10, certain time would always pause when asked politely. Back then, thunder felt enormous. Tonight, the quiet is louder. It settles over the carriage, seam to seam, padding every corner. Even the rain seems to tiptoe inside its own footsteps. The teenager's pen finally stops. Eyelids flutter, surrender. Notebook slips but is caught by gravity's gentle palm on the floor. Dreams may continue what ink left unfinished. We slow near a crossing, bells chiming in the dark. No cars wait, only the idea of them, respectful in absence. Red lights flash on wet asphalt, halos widening, then narrowing into nothing. I notice my heartbeat lagging, comfortable in unhurried meters. Thoughts drift farther apart, like boats untied at dusk. Space between them invites sleep to anchor. Beyond the glass, a lone farmhouse lamp glows steady yellow. I send a silent greeting to whoever tends that light. Kindness travels well in thoughts. It requires no stamp, needs no reply. The track straightens and the hum smooths to a single elongated note. It stretches the length of the carriage, a hammock for the mind. I settle deeper, muscles unclasping one quiet click at a time. Brakes sigh, long, content, like a yawn shared by stone and steel. Not a stop, merely a thoughtful decrescendo. Even machines understand courtesy at this hour. Rain lightens into drizzle, drizzle into memory. Droplets space themselves generously, leaving room for silence to stand tall. Outside, darkness no longer feels vast, only accommodating. I close my eyes, welcoming the gentle dim that blooms behind lids. Carriage sway rocks thought into half-formed sentences, then into scattered words, then into hush. Breath in, breath out, softer, slower, safe. Somewhere ahead, a terminal lamp waits, but I allow distance to handle introductions. For now, I remain here, nestled in echoes between rain-swept signals, traveling the quietest miles of night. Rain drizzles steady, small silver threads sewing night to window pane. The rhythm is slow, hypnotic, as if the sky itself grows drowsy mid-sentence. Beyond the glass, hedgerows retreat into charcoal silhouettes. They line the track like etiquette guides, bowing whenever the train glides past. Mist rises from low meadows, drifting in pale shoals. For a heartbeat, each tuft catches the headlamp's glow, then melts back into nothing. Inside, bulbs dim to mellow amber, pooling light in gentle hollows. Shadows soften, corners round, and the whole carriage exhales. I sit alone in a double seat, palms up, feeling vibration travel through armrests. The hum settles behind my sternum, an adopted pulse calming the original. Across the aisle, a young woman sketches on a tablet. Her stylus moves like a candle flame, wavering, bright, fragile. Every few strokes she pauses, closes her eyes, listens to the rail. Perhaps she's tracing the train song into arcs only she can decipher. A middle-aged man 2 rows back types on a retro-mechanical keyboard. Click, pause, click. Letters falling like distant hailstones on tin. He stops, rolls his shoulders, gazes out at the dark, and smiles at something no one else can see. I decide he's emailing tomorrow's worries to next week, granting them extra rest. The conductor passes quietly, hat angled low, steps cushioned by thick carpet. He checks no tickets, simply nods, safeguarding the hush we share. Rain gathers in plump beads on the outside glass. They merge, form rivers, sketching temporary maps across my reflection. I remember tracing imaginary continents on foggy bus windows as a child. Back then, every drip marked a border, every wipe, a fresh beginning. Time felt elastic in those days, stretching long between stops. Tonight it feels folded, origami moments tucked inside one another. We drift by a deserted platform. Just one lamp, one notice board, one stack of forgotten newspapers. Their pages flutter, offering headlines to the wind alone. The train doesn't slow, but I glimpse the station name, Willow Break, a place I've never been yet suddenly miss. I imagine someone once waving a scarf there, promising return letters. Perhaps the letters came late, perhaps they never mattered. The wave itself was the message. My seatmate from earlier departed 2 towns back, leaving a faint fragrance of rosemary tea. The scent lingers like softly spoken advice. Take it if you wish, let it fade if you don't. The tablet artist shifts, curls one leg beneath the other. Her screen reveals a sleeping fox nestled under fern fronds. Lines are gentle, colors muted, ochre, moss, dusk blue. She signs the corner with 3 tiny stars and closes the case. Lights dim another notch. Suddenly the aisle resembles a river lit by fireflies, glints darting off brass railings. A father cradles his toddler near the exit doors. The child's cheek presses against a stuffed whale, tiny fingers twitch in dream. The father hums a tune with no real melody. It's more breath than song, but it keeps time with the wheels. My eyelids grow heavier, but thought flows on, lazy as moonlit water. I let memories surface in random order, greeting each like passing towns. An old friend's laughter, sharp and bright, appears then dissolves. Next, the scent of pine boards in a summer cabin, dust and sun mixed. None of it hurts. Distance has smoothed the edges, left only echo. Travel does that, polishes memory while keeping its warmth. We enter a broad curve and gravity leans the world 5 degrees. Everyone's posture tilts in quiet unison, a brief communal bow to physics. Outside, a row of poplars flutters silver green beneath street lamps. Leaves resemble small mirrors reflecting any stray hope they catch. I sip lukewarm chamomile from a thermos cap. Tastes like patience distilled, a flavor with no urgency. The typist packs away his keyboard, slips on headphones and closes his eyes. Soon his breathing sinks with the carriage sway, an audible sign that words can wait. A gentle chime signals we're nearing Moreland Junction. No one moves to disembark. Still, the doors unlatch, honoring the timetable's promise. Cool air wanders in, carrying petrichor and distant wood smoke. It curls around ankles, kisses tired faces, then departs as doors slide shut. I watch the platform recede, lights shrinking to coins tossed into thick mist. Coins no one will bother to retrieve. Night is already wealthy and calm. Thoughts slow further, arranged now in single-line verses. Even metaphors yawn, loosen their grip, drift towards sleep. The engine's drone becomes a shoreline, waves curling under hull. We're a ship on hidden rails, sailing through fields instead of seas. The child near the exit sighs, deep and content. That sound alone could extinguish a storm. My own breaths follow suit, lengthening, softening. Chest rises, falls like distant hills under cloud shadow. Outside, rain thins to intermittent taps, gentle knuckles checking if anyone's still awake. Soon even that politeness will fade. The artist folds her arms, leans back, lets head tilt, surrendering sketch to dream. In the dim, her closed eyes reflect faint light, 2 tiny moons setting. I bring my gaze to the window one last time. Droplets hold still now, poised as though the sky itself pauses to rest. Those watery maps begin to dry, borders blurring, territories merging. Perfect analogy, I think, for how day dissolves into night, worry into hush. Words drift to murmurs, then to silence. Thought releases its steering wheel. Instinct guides the rest. I nestle deeper, spine aligning with seat's gentle curve. Weightless yet grounded, I ride this moving cradle through fields unseen. Tomorrow waits far ahead, patient, unassuming. For now, I stay here, between lantern-lit farms, foggy glass, and the steady lull of rails, letting sleepless maps fade peacefully into dark. The rain begins as a hush, barely interrupting the electric hum. Droplets glide down the pane in slow choreography, tracing fleeting constellations. Each line dissolves before it reaches the sill, as if shy of certainty. Inside, the carriage lights have surrendered to a deep amber glow. The color reminds me of candle stubs found in old churches, still fragrant with incense. That memory lingers, warm and smokeless, settling behind my ribs. We ease past sleeping allotments, neat rows of soil blurred by drizzle. A single greenhouse flickers with fluorescent life, stubborn against the hour. I imagine tomato vines nodding inside, grateful for the quiet vigil. A soft chime drifts from the overhead speaker, the gentlest announcement. No words follow, only silence padded by rain and rolling steel. Perhaps the conductor decided language would feel intrusive tonight. Across the aisle, a young father leafs through a picture book. His daughter sleeps on his lap, one hand curled around a crayon. He turns each page with reverence, reading images only to himself. I watch him smile at a painted tiger and remember my own father's grin. He once promised adventure with nothing more than that expression. Promises can be durable, even when the speaker vanishes beyond the horizon of years. The window's mirror interior faces against exterior dark, creating double lives. For a moment, the father appears beside the greenhouse we passed, still smiling. Then the train moves on and both versions of him fade. We glide over a small river, its surface rippling with silver raindrops. Reflections of bridge lights quake like nervous fireflies. Water never minds being interrupted. It just rearranges its calm. A woman 2 rows ahead adjusts her wool cap, settling deeper. She clutches a postcard, edges soft from repeated reading. The image shows a lighthouse under clear skies, the opposite of tonight's weather. I wonder if she is traveling toward that beacon or away. Either direction, the postcard glows in her hands like a portable sunrise. Hope can be pocket-sized and still feel boundless. My seat rocks gently, the cushion exhaling with every tilt of track. I feel each vibration trickle up my spine, smoothing thought. Even regrets grow drowsy when rocked long enough. Outside, the hedgerows part for an orchard, limbs skeletal in moonlight. Branches glisten, rain caught on fragile twigs like glass beads. I imagine apples dreaming of last autumn's wait, satisfied in memory. We slow near a platform known mostly to freight crews. Rust stains the sign. A single lamp sputters but does not fail. Nobody waits, yet the doors slide open in perfect courtesy. Cool air drifts in, scented faintly with wet hay and creosote. It carries a hush so pure I hold my breath to match it. Then the doors close, sealing the quiet inside with us. A teenager at the carriage end writes song lyrics on her phone. Her thumbs move in slow rhythm, as if testing syllables against the rail's cadence. She pauses, smiles to herself, then presses save with gentle finality. I picture her future audience swaying under stage lights, eyes half closed. Perhaps years from now, someone will hum tonight's silent melody. Moments strung in present can still echo forward like chimes in wind. The rain thickens, pattering more confidently on the roof. It sounds like distant applause, polite and measured. Every drop seems to affirm our decision to keep moving. We curve along a ridge, valley lights scatter below like spilled beads. Their colors blend through mist, amber, ruby, electrum, soft as blurred watercolor. From above, any town looks calm, even if daylight proves otherwise. I recall walking those streets once, heartbeat quick with youthful urgency. Now, traveling above them, I feel an easy distance, tender but detached. Perspective often begins with altitude, even if measured in rail heights. The father shifts, the sleeping child murmurs, then settles. He kisses her hair, eyes bright with exhaustion and wonder intertwined. In that simple motion, the night finds its purest lullaby. A gentle clang echoes from the coupling 2 cars back. The sound ripples forward like someone tapping a crystal glass. Soon it fades, absorbed by velvet dark. We coast beside wetlands where reeds bow under raindrops. Frogs croak intermittently, small throats brave against the steel thunder above. Nature offers background vocals, steady yet understated. I sip tepid coffee from a wax paper cup. The flavor is faint, more memory than taste, but comforting. Warmth, however diluted, still earns gratitude at this hour. Thoughts drift to an unopened letter tucked inside my coat. I hesitate to read it, preferring possibility over concrete words. Sometimes potential is kinder than truth, at least until dawn. The teenager sets her phone aside, closes her eyes. Her earbuds leak a faint rhythm, almost indistinguishable from the wheel's song. Soon both beats merge and her head tilts in quiet accord. Another soft chime rings overhead, still no spoken instruction. It feels like the train is reminding itself we are alive, nothing more. Life's confirmations often arrive without explanation. We cross beneath a viaduct. Rain echoes off stone in brief cascades. Drops strike windows louder, then soften as we emerge. Even rainfall has architecture, niches of volume sculpted by chance. Outside, an abandoned signal box passes. windows boarded yet graceful. I picture former attendants playing cards during long shifts, laughing between trains. Their absence resonates like a pleasant aftertaste. The rain lightens, tapering to occasional beads tracing lazy paths. With less noise overhead, breaths in the carriage grow audible, steady waves. The sea of sleep rises, and I feel its saltless buoyancy. My eyes half close, scenery blurs, sentences shorten inside my head. Words drift apart, leaving spaces wide enough for quiet to settle. I follow those spaces, stepping gently, barefoot in thought. Ahead, city lights loom faint but certain, a horizon of muted promise. Arrival will come, schedules insist on it, and I do not resist. Yet I savor these remaining miles braided with rain and hush. I let eyelids fall, trusting steel and night to guide us. The final thing I hear is the rain resuming its subtle applause, as if congratulating every soul aboard for daring to rest between stations. The rain drifts now, soft and sparse, the way conversation dwindles when everyone understands. Droplets land with unhurried taps, spacing themselves so generously that silence can breathe between them. Each tap feels like punctuation closing a thought I never needed to finish. Beyond the window, pastures unfurl in patient darkness. Hedgerows divide the land into calm, obsidian rectangles, neat as pages yet unwritten. Slender birch trunks catch the headlamp glow, silver signatures on a black ledger. Inside, the carriage lamps hum at half-life, amber halos hardly brighter than memory. Their glow washes the seats in color somewhere between honey and dusk, warm enough to curl toes inward. It reminds me of late summer evenings when porch bulbs invite moths and stillness in equal measure. A man a few rows ahead cradles an acoustic guitar, case long abandoned on the overhead rack. His fingers hover over the fretboard without pressing, ghost chords only he can hear. Every so often he strums the air, letting inaudible notes ripple through the hush. Across the aisle, a woman in a raincoat threads earbuds but never presses play. She simply holds the cord, thumb resting on the pause button as though capturing a single heartbeat. Perhaps she prefers the train's song tonight, unedited and unrepeatable. My own seat rocks in soothing microswells, a landlocked tide. Each gentle tilt loosens another knot in the spine, persuading shoulders to drop, jaw to unclench. Even my thoughts recline, sliding into softer chairs deeper in the mind. We glide past a disused siding, freight wagons robed in rust and ivy. Their wheels sit quiet in puddles, collecting stars where none are visible overhead. I imagine them dreaming of bygone cargoes, apples, coal, handwritten letters, promises sealed in cedar crates. Mist thickens as we approach low wetlands. Headlights carve narrow tunnels through suspended silver, which close politely behind us. It feels like moving through a thought that refuses to linger, yet never truly ends. The conductor strolls through once more, footsteps plush and deliberate. He touches seatbacks lightly as if tucking blankets around invisible passengers. When he nods at me, his gaze says all is well, and I believe him. I sip jasmine tea cooled to a gentle warmth. Steam no longer rises, but the floral note hovers, soft and clean, a whisper of distant gardens. With each swallow, the day's noise thins another shade. Far off, a farmhouse interior light flickers. Perhaps someone refilling a kettle, perhaps just a bulb near surrender. Either way, it shines long enough for me to notice, then dims into the collective hush. Some lights, I think, exist only to be witnessed once. We bend into a long, sweeping curve. The entire carriage tilts, like a spoon cradling soup just before lips reach the rim. Windows on the opposite side reveal our own reflection, a string of golden beads floating through night. As wheels sing against the rail, that guitar player finally plucks a real chord. The sound is barely louder than breath, a minor shape that resolves before anyone can wake. Still, it lingers in the upholstery, a warm knot of resonance. Outside, a row of willows bows in the windless dark, branches dripping with dew. They resemble silent ushers guiding the train toward something gentle, perhaps first light. I feel gratitude for trees that stand watch when we cannot. A boy near the doors dozes against his suitcase, sneakers still damp from earlier puddles. On his wrist, a glow-in-the-dark watch face ticks with rabbit-soft precision. Time itself seems sleepy, reluctant to call its next appointment. We slow at a minor platform, Ashmill Halt. No one waits, yet the lamp posts burn steadily, stoic in drizzle. The signboard lists departure times long past, but the ink cares little for accuracy at this hour. The doors stay closed. Still, I picture an invisible ledger marking our brief arrival. 1:42 a.m., freight of dreams on schedule. Then brakes release with a sigh, a sound that feels like a blanket unfurling across knees. Momentum resumes, softer than before, as if we've been granted extra quiet for good behavior. A cluster of distant wind turbines appears on a ridge, blades motionless in nocturnal truce. Scarlet safety lights blink in slow unison, heartbeats of an enormous sleeping creature. Their rhythm syncs with mine for several breaths, then lets me drift ahead. Thought wanders to a childhood memory, tracing finger paths on fogged windows during long drives home. I would draw coastlines, erase them, invent new ones, cartographer of impermanent worlds. Tonight, the glass fogs slightly with each exhale, inviting the same innocent mapping. I sketch a single arc, then leave it unfinished. Sometimes half a shape feels more truthful than a perfect outline. Possibility thrives in open ends. The condensation fades and the map dissolves, boundaries lifting like paper boats into air. The rain eases into a hushed sprinkle, phrases of Morse code the sky chooses not to translate. Fewer taps, longer pauses, as if the night prepares its closing arguments. Even the rail's song modulates lower, approaching a whisper below thought. The guitar player sets his instrument down, crosses arms, yields to sleep. The woman with earbuds finally presses play. Tiny cymbals shimmer, then fade beneath her pulse. Voices still but are replaced by something even softer. Collective breathing, evenly spaced. My eyelids drift half-closed. Scenery softens into charcoal smudges. In this gentle blur, regrets look smaller, hopes a shade nearer. Nothing demands decision here. Motion itself is answer enough. Outside, the first hint of pale gray tints the horizon, scarcely brighter than the mist. Not dawn, only its apprentice rehearsing the entrance one breath at a time. I watch without urgency. Daylight will arrive whether or not I witness the final curtain rise. For now, the quiet curve holds us mid-arc, mid-dream. Steel carries the weight, rain carries the rhythm, we carry the hush. And somewhere ahead, minutes, miles, heartbeats away, morning waits, unhurried, certain, kind. Rain falls in patient sheets as though the sky has all the time it needs. Each droplet taps the window with soft conviction, then slides away, leaving brief silver trails. The rhythm is steady, slow enough for thoughts to curl inside it. Outside, the countryside moves past in hushed watercolor. Fences, hedgerows, distant barns, each emerges, blurs, and disappears like shy ideas. A lone pond flashes in the headlights, glassy and unperturbed, then slips back into dark. Inside, carriage lamps glow low as bedside candles. Their light gathers in quiet pools on the floor, leaving corners to gentle shadow. Passengers sink deeper into seats, coats turn to makeshift blankets, eyelids half-drawn. Across the aisle, a middle-aged woman balances an open umbrella on her knees. The fabric is sapphire blue, dotted with tiny white swallows mid-flight. She turns the handle slowly, watching raindrops drum against nylon with mute fingers. I imagine she kept the umbrella raised while boarding, then couldn't bear to close it fully. A small sky she can hold, private weather against the wider storm. A curl of her hair clings damp to her cheek, silvered by interior light. Beside her, a boy of perhaps 10 leans against the glass. His sneakers dangle inches above the floor, toes tracing invisible shapes. He follows every droplet that races down the pane, whispering numbers under his breath. I recall counting raindrops on long rides home from school, believing if I reached 100 the clouds would notice and grant a rainbow. Even now, memory answers to that same quiet superstition. The wheels sing low against the rails, a hum that settles behind the sternum. Feels like a second heartbeat, slower, steadier, borrowed from iron and rain. Each curve rocks the carriage, coaxing muscles to soften one by one. We pass a dormant station. No sign, only a weather-beaten bench and a single lamppost. Light spills onto wet concrete, then vanishes under tall grass at the platform's edge. I picture a commuter who once waited there nightly, book in hand, coat buttoned to chin. Maybe they still return in dreams, the bench intact, train always on time. Dreams keep schedules better than reality, forgiving delays and wrong directions. Tonight our locomotive respects that unseen timetable, gliding through without pause. I sip lukewarm peppermint tea from a paper cup. The flavor is gentle frost, clearing mind of lingering chatter. With each swallow, thoughts drift farther apart, leaving room for softer echoes. Raindrops thicken, rattling the roof in brief applause. The woman with the umbrella tilts the canopy, inviting the boy to shelter beneath. He slides closer, eyes bright with grateful surprise. They share a smile that needs no words. Two strangers forming a tiny alliance against the chill, a borrowed porch beneath nylon wings. For a blink, the carriage feels like a village square, everyone connected by polite distance. A teenage girl in a varsity jacket yawns, cheeks puffing with emotion. She scrolls her phone, screen light flickering over freckles, then powers it off. Her reflection lingers on black glass, soft, half-lit, almost dreaming already. The conductor strolls by, hat tipped to the sleeping majority. He checks no tickets, simply adjusts thermostat dials with delicate care. Warm air drifts through vents, carrying faint cedar scent of polished wood. Outside, mist rolls in from a low valley. Headlamps carve tunnels through the fog, walls closing silently behind. The world shrinks to corridor size, cozy and unknowable at once. A memory surfaces, walking home beneath a single umbrella shared with someone I loved. We argued over nothing, laughter chasing words away before they formed. That night's rain pooled in shoelace knots, but heart stayed unsoaked. The boy under the blue umbrella has begun to nod off. His head finds the woman's shoulder. She accepts the weight, adjusting handle angles so droplets slide evenly. The umbrella becomes lullaby, patter soft as whispered arithmetic. I glance at my watch. Hours feel irrelevant now, mere decoration. The dial glows green, numbers kind but unnecessary. Rail time obeys its own orbit, neither hurried nor stalled. Outside, a barn light flickers alive, revealing a cow standing in doorway, serene as moon. Steam curls from its nostrils, disappearing into night like quiet wishes. Even animals keep vigil, it seems, honoring the rhythm of passing steel. The rain tapers, then pauses, a held breath of weather. In the hush, I hear a faint guitar strum from 2 rows back. Someone tests chords soft enough to blend with engine thrum. A major 7th rises, floats, fades. Not a song, just a sketch, yet the note lingers like warmth on wool. Music, even unfinished, can sew strangers together. We curve onto a high embankment where city lights glitter far off. Tiny sparks in the mist hint at morning commitments. Bakeries firing ovens, buses idling cold. They feel distant, manageable, part of another chapter not yet opened. The umbrella woman eases it closed, droplets cascading to the floor in silver beads. She rests the folded canopy at her feet, smoothing its damp fabric as if tucking in a child. The boy sleeps undisturbed, mouth parted in small content sighs. I realize I am smiling, cheeks relaxed, breath matching the wheel's cadence. Regrets that usually clatter now feel padded, wrapped in midnight wool. Hope sits politely beside them, both content to wait their turn. Mist clears. Stars emerge, scattered crumbs on dark velvet. One streaks briefly, a falling ember that burns no regret. I make no wish. The moment feels complete without bargaining. The conductor dims lights another fraction, carriage drifting toward candlelit dusk. People settle deeper, shadows drape shoulders, silence thickens to balm. I exhale through parted lips, letting calm travel outward like smoke rings. Ahead, the track straightens, a soft runway toward whatever dawn intends. I don't need to know the station name, only that arrival will be gentle. Until then, we move together, blue umbrella folded, tea cooling, heart steady, sharing night's vast umbrella while rain writes its final, fading signature on glass. Rain lingers only as a mist now, a breath the night releases without urgency. Droplets hover on the glass like reluctant travelers, then dissolve, leaving faint halos that fade before memory can fix them. The engine hums low, trusting the rails the way a heartbeat trusts the ribs around it. A lone scarecrow tilts in gentle bow, coat flapping once before stilling, audience and actor at the same time. Inside, overhead lamps settle into their softest amber yet. Their glow rinses the carriage in the color of cooled honey, sweet and slow. Shadows fold politely beneath armrests, leaving room for thought to stretch its legs. Across the aisle, an elderly man polishes a pair of spectacles with a neatly folded handkerchief. He cleans each lens in slow circles as though erasing yesterday's harsher lines. When finished, he sets the glasses on his lap, eyes closed, seeing more clearly without them. A young couple share the four-seat pod behind him. Their foreheads touch as they study an unfolded map, corners drooping like tired wings. My own reflection flickers on the window, merging with passing trees. For a heartbeat, I appear half leaf, half skin, as though the landscape loans me a disguise. It reminds me how travel makes identity porous, welcome air between bricks. We glide past a cottage hemmed in ivy, windows glowing butter yellow. Someone inside lifts a teacup, silhouette brief in curtain gap, then vanishes. I raise an imaginary mug in return, a toast traded without eye contact. The wheels shift to a deeper timbre on fresh rails, a bass note beneath the carriage choir. Wooden sleepers underneath accept each strike like monks counting beads, steady, forgiving, eternal. Every vibration loosens a small knot near my shoulder blades. A quiet notification chimes from a phone 2 rows up, then silences itself. Its owner, an artist I judge by paint-stained cuffs, doesn't stir. Dreams apparently have stronger pull than any alert can muster. Mist thickens outside, swallowing fences until only their intent remains. Headlamps carve pewter tunnels whose walls close softly behind us. For several breaths, the world is reduced to this capsule of light, moving through its own gentle heartbeat. I sip oat milk cocoa from a reusable bottle, the flavor mellow as late autumn. Warmth nests in my chest, expanding, smoothing rough inner edges. With each swallow, plans loosen their strict shapes, turning suggestions instead of demands. The conductor appears, adjusting his watch though no one has asked the time. He pauses at the sleeping artist, covers her lap with a forgotten cardigan. Kindness, I note, is often done in silence to keep its dignity intact. We pass a railway maintenance shed, doors ajar, tools hanging in sleepy rows. A single bulb burns overhead, bravely illuminating nothing in particular. It looks like a guardian whose shift is almost over but who refuses to abandon post early. Somewhere beyond the mist, a river accompanies us, unseen but audible in brief liquid murmurs. Its cadence intertwines with the rail song, duet without rivalry. Water and steel share the night, each respecting the other's chosen lane. The couple with the map folded, exchange a soft kiss, then rest heads together. Paper rustles into their bag, carrying the scent of ink and possibility. I imagine routes they'll never use, yet cherish just for existing on paper. We slow for a modest stop, Larkspur Gate. Platform lights bloom gold on rain-damp boards, unoccupied yet attentive. Doors slide open. No one rises, but the night air enters anyway, cool and clean as fresh linen. It carries petrichor, chimney smoke, and a trace of wild mint. I inhale as though the breeze itself is an old friend passing through. Breath in, breath out, conversation without spoken word. The scarecrow of earlier reappears in my thoughts, arms wide to a sky that never answers aloud. I wonder if its stillness teaches birds humility, or if birds teach it patience instead. Either way, both lessons feel relevant to travelers chasing horizons. We depart the halt. Brakes release a sigh as though confessing relief. Rain stops entirely, leaving the roof humming with emptiness. Silence expands, wraps around ankles like a velvet cat. Stars slip through thinning clouds, needles of light stitching darkest fabric. One star dangles longer than the rest, planet or promise I cannot tell. I follow its arc until the next tree line intervenes. The elderly man opens his eyes, dons his spectacles, studies his own hands. He smiles in faint surprise as if noting their steadiness after years of loyal labor. Then he folds the handkerchief into a perfect square, mission complete. My watch reads 3:07 a.m., numbers faint green against black. The late hour feels less like scarcity of sleep, more like abundance of quiet. Time, observed at this depth, becomes spacious enough to wander in. Outside, low hills gather, silhouettes stacked like dark pages. Ahead, their ridges brighten marginally, ink diluted by the first brush of silver. The distant horizon is rehearsing dawn, humming scales before the performance. Inside, breathing synchronizes, passengers, engine, perhaps even the map folded in that canvas bag. Each inhale lifts the collective, each exhale lowers it back onto steady rails. I feel included in a choir made entirely of lungs and gears. The couple stirs. They notice the paling sky, squeeze hands in gentle anticipation. Their shared smile holds no urgency. Arrival will come when conversation with night has finished. Some dialogues deserve the full closing line. Fog thins to veils, then to scarves, then to nothing at all. Fields emerge, dewlit and shy, colors waiting just out of sight. Cows in far pastures turn their heads, recognizing the subtle click of dawn's latch. I reach into my coat pocket, find a blank postcard I carry for luck. On it I write a single sentence: I was here, awake and calm. No address needed. Some notes are meant only for the act of writing. The engine's hum deepens once, then softens like a storyteller clearing throat before final paragraph. Ahead, a signal lamp flickers green, permission granted for the last unhurried mile. We glide into it, harmless as a thought finishing its arc. Light gathers on the horizon, neither gold nor rose yet, simply certain. It brushes window edges, turning raindrop stains into prisms. In that refracted glow, every sleeper seems haloed by patience. I close my eyes, holding the image like a seashell's echo. The train rocks onward, heart matches tempo, mind unknots completely. When we finally reach the city, dawn will claim the narrative. But these footfalls of earliest light will remain tucked between beats. A quiet secret carried in pocket, warm as cocoa, gentle as rails remembering rain.